Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me stand on the protocol that you established and acknowledge Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Sanbonani. Thank you. Excellencies, we gather at a defining moment for the global economy, one that is increasingly characterized by volatility, fragmentation, and persistent shocks. These global dynamics are not distant phenomena. They are shaping in very direct and profound ways Africa's development trajectory, particularly in the critical sectors of infrastructure and energy. Today's global economy is no longer experiencing isolated disruptions. Instead, we are witnessing a pattern of recurring and compounding shocks. From the global financial crisis to the COVID-19 pandemic to geopolitical conflict and now the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. The frequency and intensity of disruptions have fundamentally changed. These shocks are no longer episodic. They are structural. The implications for Africa are significant. The disruption of key global trade routes and energy corridors has exposed the vulnerability of economies that remain dependent on external supply chains. For a continent where a majority of countries are net energy importers, such shocks translate directly into rising fuel costs, inflationary pressures, and constrained fiscal space. We are already witnessing the effects as the African continent. Oil prices exceeding $100 per barrel are placing immense pressure on our transport systems, on electricity generation, and on clean cooking solutions across our continent. These pressures are felt in the daily realities of our people, in the cost of mobility, in the reliability of power, and in the ability of businesses to operate and to expand. At the same time, global financial conditions are tightening. Access to capital is becoming more selective, more expensive, and more competitive. For African countries, many of which are already grappling with high debt burdens, this creates a dual constraint: rising financial needs alongside shrinking fiscal space. Debt levels across our continent have reached approximately 64% of GDP on average, limiting the ability of governments to invest in critical infrastructure and in social services. These global pressures intersect with long-standing structural challenges within our continent. Our infrastructure deficit continues to reduce our GDP growth by up to 2% per annum and constrain our industrial productivity losses by as high as 40%. Transport costs remain the highest globally, in some cases up to 175% higher than in other regions, reflecting fragmented and underdeveloped transport systems. In the energy sector, our challenge still remains. We still speak of the 600 million Africans who don't have access to electricity, and nearly 1 billion people that do not have access to clean cooking solutions. At the current pace, hundreds of millions will still be without access by 2030, therefore underscoring the urgency of our collective action. These realities highlight a fundamental truth. Infrastructure and energy are no longer simply sectors of development. They are strategic systems that determine resilience, competitiveness, and sovereignty in a rapidly evolving global economy. It is precisely within this context that the role of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Transport and Energy is critically important. This STC is not merely a convening platform. It is the continent's principal ministerial decision-making organ, responsible for providing policy direction, strategic oversight, and coordination across Africa's infrastructure and energy sectors. In a world of increasing fragmentation, this STC represents Africa's collective instrument for coherence, alignment, and decisive action. Your coming together, honorable ministers and policymakers, development partners and institutions that are friends of Africa help us to move beyond dialogue towards implementation.